Dr. Judith Shamian, thank you very much indeed, President of the International Council of Nurses and a member of this report. And your input, of course, was extremely significant because you are the voice of those wonderful women all over the world, and men, of course, but predominantly women who are nurses. What particular challenges or obstacles or problems would you say nurses face in the health sector globally? Because there is a surprising amount of similarity to the problems that they face, wherever they are.
Absolutely. And I think the huge challenges are dealing with working conditions, with compensation, with respect, with valuing nurses and women generally. And that's universal. As I cross the world from one continent to the next, it has different shape and form, but you see that universally. And one of the fundamental issues is that far too often nurses are not at the decision-making table to contribute their knowledge, their experience to the decisions that are being made. So you end up with misalignment and not being able to take the goals that governments and others set far enough because it lacks the voice of women and nurses.
When we look at the goals set out by the Sustainable Development Goals, and when we look at human rights and the fact that citizens all over the world have a right to healthcare, do you feel that sometimes the rights of the workers, nurses in particular, can be overlooked?
Absolutely. You see countries where nurses are not paid their minimum salary for month after month. Their health is not protected. Ebola is a case of point that everybody can relate to. No protective gear and no safe working conditions. Violence against healthcare workers and women is rampant. So absolutely.
And you cannot have proper reform of the health sector, in particular rules governing its workforce, unless you have these kind of rights enshrined within the system.
Absolutely. We're looking at new positions, never mind the existing current millions and millions of positions, but we are saying in order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, in order to have a strong economic growth, we will need another 40 million positions, and the bulk of it will be women. We know that in the healthcare sector, over 60% of its workers are women, where in the general industry, it's around 40%. So unless we attend to the well-being, the protection, the working conditions, the respect, the voice of women, we will not achieve the goals.
And the creation of 40 million jobs in the health sector is something which is expected to happen anyway, which will be generated globally. But it's important to help make sure that you have the right guidelines to ensure that this new workforce does enjoy the right protections. So accountability and also participation in that decision-making process involving nurses is critical.
I think the demand for health services and healthcare in both in the health and the social sector going to happen, regardless if governments attend to it or not. We know the disruption that can happen if we don't plan in advance and it becomes a shortage rather than a focused planning. We can achieve the goals of having 40 million healthcare workers, achieve the dealing with health and social issues, which will take care of with a lot of the other SDGs like equity, reduction of violence, hunger, poverty, and so on, if we plan for it properly. All stakeholders, including nurses, need to sit around the table and make a commitment, move aside our personal vested interest. And the goal needs to be that we want to see a healthy world with healthy population, and we need to come to the table and work on it. So I think what this report is unique and different is that talks about health employment and economic growth. We need to have governments and businesses to understand that if you invest properly in healthcare workers, which includes women and youth, which we haven't spoken about yet, it will happen, and the economy of the country will be more robust. It will contribute to the GDP, to the well-being, and you strengthen single households by investing in it. So that transformative thinking has to happen.
Judith Shamian, President of the International Council of Nurses, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.